Good evening, and thank you to the Chair and Board for having me. I call this presentation Central Island Rail Transit, Expanding Affordable, Efficient Transit in the RDN. The bus system here is amazing. I use it every day. It's comfortable and clean, but it is definitely not cheap to run. The new CNG buses cost $550,000 each, and fuel costs, especially volatile natural gas prices, will rise, as we've seen this past weekend. RDN Transit serves an incredible area stretching all the way from Cedar to Deep Bay. But we often forget it runs along the ENN. This presentation is about how we can better use this asset that runs through the hearts of our cities and do so using as close as possible to only the $20 million upgrades slated for the corridor. The keys to the success of any regional transportation system is that it is affordable and that it is convenient. For the most part, the bus system does that. Consider that you can get from Qualicum to Cedar for $2.50. The challenges are always based on time and frequency. I approach this problem as an avid user of BC Transit. I ask that you consider this as if it were simply a new way to provide the existing BC Transit service. At $150,000, rail cars like the Bud Rail diesel car can be cheap to purchase or lease. If both buses and rail are provided with equal access, then they can be used according to their strengths, and the transit system as a whole becomes that much better. So here's step number 1 of the plan. First, Qualicum to Parksville. If the board directors would like to consult their handouts with the schedule and maps, that might be easier than looking at the PowerPoint. This full schedule is available on my website at www.vifreightbyrail.ca. Right now, Oceanside is served by the number 90 and 88 bus. The number 90 bus has grown significantly in 4 or 5 years. I've used it myself as I drive from Port Alberni to Parksville and hop on the bus all the way to VIU. It's been quite interesting to see it grow, particularly when gas prices started to rise. I see students on there going to VIU and Nanaimo high schools. I see working people, snowbirds catching the ferry to Vancouver Airport, and travelers looking for a ride to the West Coast. A new number 100 rail commuter would be 23 minutes faster than the current bus, even taking into account picking people up along the way. Like the number 90 does now, you can see here in green the back-to-back commuter runs, where 2 rail cars would run in quick succession. Then one would continue running throughout the day until afternoon when the second again went on the commuter run. The times marked in blue with departures or arrivals from BC Ferries connect with departures or arrivals from BC Ferries using the number 25 BC Ferry shuttle bus. One big advantage here is service to Nanaimo Regional General Hospital, which is currently very difficult for commuters and patients because of NRGH's distance from the main hubs. The rail stop at Brooks Landing is within easy walking distance of NRGH. As I believe the largest hospital north of Victoria and second largest employer in Nanaimo, this is a big improvement. Also, don't forget about the new Parksville Medical Center, which is just a few hundred meters away from the Parksville train station. Since that run uses 2 rail cars, but only one all day, what do you do with the second train set for the rest of the day? That brings us to step number 2, which I call the Nanaimo City Shuttle. This run replaces 2.5 buses, plus perhaps another one to the hospital. This would be the number 7 to Cedar and the number 8 and number 9, which go back and forth, basically exactly parallel to the railway along Highway 19A. This would represent a large savings in time to get from Cedar or South Nanaimo to Woodgrove. If this second service didn't happen, then the number 100 service I mentioned before from Qualicum could extend all the way to the Port Place Exchange to serve the fast ferry in Gabriola. But as you can see, having this run would provide a very frequent service. A train leaving Port Place Exchange at 8:45 will get to Woodgrove at Alds Road by 9:06, under 25 minutes. There are times when it takes longer than that by car. The boxes colored in orange connect to an additional service to the airport, and the boxes colored in purple are an extra evening service that would run after the regular commuter service is finished. Those are the two main proposals. They would be the simplest to implement and make the biggest impact on ridership. Compared to the purchase of 4 CNG buses to serve 4 routes for around $3 million, the same routes could be served by 2 sets of rail diesel cars for 1 to 2 million and be faster, more efficient, and carry more people. There are other opportunities though, so if you could hang on with me for a little longer, I'll show those. Step number 3 is Ladysmith and the Nanaimo Airport. This would connect commuters coming from Ladysmith who currently have no options like the Qualicum service. The railway goes right beside the airport. If an overpass were built, users could easily walk to and from the airport. This service would of course also get people from the south to BC Ferries as noted in blue. Since this service extends to Ladysmith, that means it is outside the RDN area. However, Cowichan Regional District already partners with Victoria Transit for a similar commuter type service all the way from Duncan over the Malahat to Victoria. So I anticipate something like this would be achievable. Step number 4 would be going north to Courtenay and Comox. This would represent a huge boost in mobility access for this rural area, and I dare to say it would be extremely popular with Northern Gulf Island and even Powell River residents getting to and from Vancouver. It could also serve the very busy Comox Airport if there was a bus connection made there in Courtenay. Step 5, go west. This is the smallest route and longest term, but I think it's very, very important, and not only because I'm from Port Alberni. The last Canadian Pacific passenger service ran to Alberni in the 50s. Commuting is growing out of Port Alberni thanks to its affordable house prices, and there have always been lots of people living in Qualicum who work in Port Alberni and vice versa. Since the line is quite long and has a slower speed than the main line, it would be a slower ride, but a very beautiful journey. The tourism potential would be fantastic. The stops on the schedule are each an attraction in their own right. The service would give people the means to walk on BC Ferries, saving the expense of their car, stay in Nanaimo, Parksville, or Qualicum, take the train to Port Alberni for a few dollars, stay there, and then continue on to Tofino, perhaps by Greyhound or Ucluelet by the Francis Barclay. All without a car. Wrapping up, this is about dreaming big, but starting modestly. We are not reinventing the wheel. The Denton County Transit System in Texas, pictured above, leased 10 RDC rail cars to start and put them in successful service. They had just 2,000 people riding per day in 2011 on brand new Stadler trains. The latest information I could get for the RDN was that the number 7, number 8, number 9, and number 90 buses had 800 people a day in 2007. Compared to 10 RDCs for 2,000 people or 2 RDCs for 800, that's a pretty good deal. I know from experience that ridership has grown in the RDN since 2007. If we extend it to Ladysmith, which I believe could be very successful and add serious ridership, it still only needs 3 RDCs. I have been unsuccessful in contacting Denton County or Trinity Rail Express to find out costs, so I would suggest the RDN contact those organizations as a first step. We have the examples of the Malahat and Qualicum commuter buses, which travel great distances within and between regional districts for only $2 or $3. We have to be willing to use this incredible asset that spans all of our communities on the island and gives us the ability to hop on and off wherever we need to go. In future, this mode of transportation is also the only one that could be electrified and thus be completely zero carbon emissions. That is something that highways will never provide. Thank you for your time this evening. I do have other slides, but I will end there for time. So if you have any questions, I will be happy to answer them. I hope you can seriously consider this proposal and perhaps request your staff study this type of service for the RDN in the future. Thank you.